from Israel in the Galilee, and it looks like the live stream is live. And today is the 31st of January, the end of the month, and it's I think it's just about 8 o'clock in the morning here. Well, 7:58 anyway. What's our weather doing here? 56 degrees now. That's not so bad. 68 as the high. That's pleasant, really pleasant. Not seeing rain. I'm seeing sun starting in about any minute. We should start seeing sun. And don't see rain. And tomorrow, partially cloudy, no rain, a high of 73. Wow. And then Monday, sunny, 72. And then Tuesday, we get hit again. But let's see if it really materializes. They're saying rain on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, nice again. Thursday, we're up to 70 again. Friday, cloudy, but no rain. And then I don't see any rain except maybe coming, what day did I say? Maybe on Tuesday. Well, they're giving it 75%, but this can always change. I don't know. And we're going to start more and more seeing ourselves go into the low 70s. It's going to be more frequent. Now, when I grew up in New York, we'd go to the beach and go swimming at 70. That was my cutoff temperature to go swimming, was 70. 70s, like what, perfect weather, you know? It's the dogs like 70. When it starts getting, high 70s, they don't like it that much. It starts getting warm for them. But they're okay with it, But if it's 65, they're pretty happy. They like that. That's good for them. That's like 70 for us. If you had a head of hair all over your whole body, your arms, your legs, your torso, you'd probably like it more at 63, 65 degrees than you would at 70. That's basically what dogs got, right? Okay. So let me go flip into the live stream. Make sure we got a live stream. That's basically what dogs got, right? Okay. So let me go flip into the live stream. Make sure we got a live stream. That's basically what dogs got, right? Okay. So let me go flip into the live stream. Make sure we got a live stream. What are you telling me I'm breaking Shabbat with? I don't know. Somebody says, aren't I breaking Shabbat? I don't know what you explain what you mean. What are you telling me I'm breaking Shabbat with? I don't know. All right, I'm going to put a post up here quickly. All right, I'm going to put a post up here quickly. This only takes a few seconds to get a post up. This only takes a few seconds to get a post up. Okay. People come in here and say I'm wrong, I'm crazy, I'm doing this and that, but anybody can go in and say that. Okay. I could go to a medical convention of neurosurgeons and say, that guy's wrong, he's crazy. But if the guy turns around and says to me, okay, what's your explanation? Show me how I should do it. I wouldn't be able to say a thing. And that's how these people are. They come in and tell me I am crazy with the current events and stuff like that. And they don't know what they're doing. So there are Chinese warships already in the Persian Gulf with Iran. And there's Russian ships on the way. They might already be there, some of them. I'm getting mixed reports. Some are saying the Russian warships are coming to Iran. Others are saying there's some already there. Now, there can be more Chinese and Russian warships coming also. Now, we'll get into this when I start. But being a Bible-believing site, oh, wait, I forgot to do something. But being a Bible-believing site, we're going to go do some praise in a minute. Okay, I got that done. It's not doomsday. It's, if you want to know what's really going on, read Zechariah 12 and then read Malachi. Well, read Zechariah 12. That would give you the most information. Reading Jeremiah 49 would be helpful too. Okay, there is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right. So, why are there Chinese ships with Iran in the Persian Gulf area by the Straits of Hormuz? The story is they had previously scheduled exercises. How convenient. And China has been parking some warships for a long time now out around the Indian Ocean, not far from Iran, so it could get over there quickly if it needed to. That, of course, they don't want to tell you. I'm not hearing anything about this from the usual survival prepper sites. And I'm hearing like next to nothing about this from the Israel social media that I rely on. The Israel social media is usually very good for Gaza, Hezbollah, Syria, and even Iran. But this was not coming through. I may have seen it there. I don't know, but I didn't get my information there. So it maybe is having Some people know about it in Israel. It's a Shabbat. A lot of people don't work with their telegram on Shabbat and stuff. So, okay, but it's true. I verified it. I believe there's 4 Chinese destroyers there, and there's going to be about 3 Russian destroyers, is what they're saying. So that's 7, and Iran's going to put between 8 and 10 of their warships with them. So you have 15 to 17 warships. Trump has, I believe, 9. He has something, a destroyer at the top of the Red Sea, well, not the top, but at the Red Sea near Eilat. Trump doesn't appear to be attacking a lot. He's there to do missile takedown. Hang on a second. Some schmuck was trying to do his little spiritual warfare crap in here, so I had to take care of that, which I did. The Satan bots are really the dumbest people in the world. You know that? They're good at managing the affairs of the world, but they're dumb. They're so dumb. It's like impossible for them to know the truth. Okay. So, how does this change things? Well, I need to give you my assessment, what I think now. The chances of Trump not prosecuting an attack on Iran is probably 60-65% now. So what am I telling you? I'm telling you that Trump is very, very, very likely not to attack Iran. Okay? He's behaved cowardly since he's gone into office. He's afraid to prosecute a war or push anything. He ran away from the Houthis in Yemen. He did some silly, feeble attacks on Iran, and then Iran attacked a base in Qatar, and then Trump immediately got that war to stop. He got so scared. And he's obviously scared now. The death toll of the Iranian protesters has been increased to something like 86,000 some hundred. And I now watch the people get mad at me. This is Trump's behavior. What did Trump say? Help is coming. Don't worry. We're with you. We're going to help you, right? Has he helped them to date? No. Has Iran stopped executing them? Not at all. Is Iran still arresting them and they'll never be heard from again, like as an execution? Yeah. Are they still getting hunted down? Yeah. Is Trump still getting them to go out and protest? Yeah. Trump caused the death. That's probably, they're not done. Iran's not done. So let's say it's going to be at least 100,000 before it's finished. Okay, at least. Let's get some perspective numbers on this for us, okay? Let me do that right now. I'm trying to get some perspective figures for you. So we could say there's already 86,000 dead, and it's going to be easily 100, maybe 120,000 before this is over. How many American military people died during the Vietnam conflict, which lasted, 6-7 years? 58,193. And then they got 1,200 missing, so maybe you will be generous and say 60,000. So Trump, in a matter of a few days, arranged for more people to get killed in Iran than American lost military during the whole Vietnam conflict. A doom and gloom on Israel, maybe, not that's definitely, but maybe, because this moron Netanyahu trusts Trump. What Trump did to Iran, he'll do worse to Israel. We're Jews. He's a scary guy, folks. What he did to the Iranians, he's going to do to the Americans, and he's going to do it to the Israelis. It says in Jeremiah 50:51, the evil that they did in your sight. He's going to hurt us. All he cares about is his own image and money. It's like a child. If he's going to attack Iran, I think it's too late. I don't think he will, really. But if he did, he better do it real soon before more military equipment winds up in the hands of the Iranians and more Russian and Chinese warships show up. Next, after they bring more ships, they'll start landing planes in Iran. Yeah. You think it's bad? Got worse. Let me read you something the Iranians just said. It's much worse. Because you got this moron, Trump. Look, Biden was a moron, Obama was a moron, Trump's a moron. They're all morons. Don't you get it? They're transactional Satan bots. They're morons. I gotta get my bearings in my notes. Okay, we'll go through my notes and I'll start developing this for you. We'll just go that way, okay? First is we'll start with any prayer requests that I might have, and I don't know if I No, I don't have prayer requests. Okay. So yesterday afternoon there were Chinese. Well, we're getting reports that there's Chinese warships in the Persian Gulf early. The reason for this was military exercises. Yeah, sure, but that probably is true. But they're taking advantage of it, and I'm going to show you how bad it's getting. Um, um, so the Chinese ships showed up with Iran before the date of the planned joint naval exercise, which is Russia, Iran, and China. So it's not just the naval exercise. Chinese ships came early to protect Iran from the United States. Who else? So it's very likely there's more Chinese ships en route and Russian ships. Or some reports are saying there's some Russian ships there with the Chinese and Iranians, and others are saying they're en route. So it could be both are true. One or two ships might be there. There's more en route. How many ships are coming en route? We're not getting that yet, but we'll probably have it in hours or a day or something like that. Okay. Um, Now I want to read you what this character said, and I'm going to give you his title. And if it doesn't get you concerned, there's something wrong. Ali Shamkhani, senior advisor to Khomeini. So he's on Ayatollah Shmukhmeini's staff. I hope you don't mind if I call him Shmukhmeini. Okay. We understand the enemy operational plan and have full knowledge of it. At the right time, we will strike targets to prevent it from being carried out. So they're saying they're going to do a first strike to stop the Americans from striking them. Did you understand that? I will read it again. We understand the enemy operational plan and have full knowledge of it. At the right time, we will strike targets to prevent it from being carried out, the plan from being carried out. It goes on. Targeting Israel will be part of our response. Now, this could be true because with Chinese and Russian ships there, they may think that Israel will not counterattack them, but that's wrong. We will. Targeting Israel will be part of the response, and we do not limit the conflict to the sea alone. We are prepared for broader and more complex scenarios. So Trump, the hero of so many people in America, has gotten this situation to the point where Iran feels it has to dismantle the American military apparatus in the region. And the end of that would be to drive America out of the region. And the end of that would be Iran bullies the other oil producing countries and they go into BRICS, and then BRICS crushes America economically by not having any of the oil traded in US dollars. America's already in the toilet. Haven't you noticed? Those of you that live in America, you need to wake up and you should be viewing Trump in the same light as Obama and Biden, just another piece of garbage Satan bot ruining life for you. You better wake up, because this guy is going to hurt America more than Obama and Bush and Biden and all of them combined. He's going to hurt it worse. More from Iran, likely told to USA Arab allies that passed it on to people in Iran. So, in other words, America will tell Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Oman, what their intentions are going to be to get them ready, because Iran may very likely attack them. So they leak the information out, okay? All right, so that's where that's coming from. Now, Russian cargo planes, 3 Russian Antonov AN-124 heavy transport aircraft, as well as some kind of ship, cargo plane, a Fusion or something like that, have reported landed in Iran in the last 24 hours. So Russia's and Iran are continuing with cargo flights, loading up Iran with some kind of equipment. We don't know what's in these things. Now, I say we don't know, but Trump might know, and Netanyahu might know, and they're not going to talk about it. Okay. So we're getting Iran talking about a first strike, and I think they mean it. And they're going to be hiding behind China and Russia. Now, what I also have to tell you is I'm not entirely sure China and Russia are going to back Iran in the first strike. They might. It may be time. They're sufficiently sick of America, and they're sufficiently convinced Trump's too afraid to do anything. Trump's performance in Venezuela was beyond weak. So they might think it's time to get rid of America, and this is the start. And they might let Iran do it. Now, China is pretty slippery. And what they're thinking here is if it gets out of hand, their risk is a handful of destroyers, which they have a very large amount of. And that's a risk they're willing to take. But you better believe they'll tell America, if you hurt our destroyers, we'll kill you. You better believe they're going to say that, okay? Because they will. Got it? Now Trump is running around telling the world that he gave Iran a deadline date, but he won't tell us. Why? Because he hands deadline dates out all the time and they never get carried out. And he loses face. So now he's going to not reveal the date. But Iran, he says Iran knows the date. My gosh, this guy is getting just pathetic. The paper tiger. Now let's talk about pizza sales in the Pentagon. This is a new thing they came up with, and I think it's rather clever. It's also rather stupid because the Russians and the Chinese and all the enemies of America can get a good idea of what America's doing, because the Pentagon people are the ones that are going to prosecute a war and plan the war and set up. So they are told they can't go home. They got to stay there. They're military. They don't have rights like that. So they order pizza. They got to stay late. So they order pizza. Maybe the Pentagon pays for that. So the pizza is up. Yesterday it was about, some stores were 139% up. Others were 150% up. So to put it in baby talk, if the normal amount of pizza deliveries was 100, then last night there would have been 250 pizzas. But the numbers are a lot higher than that, I think. I think they get up to 700, 900, or 1,000 pizzas or something like that. The Pentagon is a very massive building. It's one of the largest buildings in the world. And they got a lot of people working there. Let's keep going. The Islamic regime in Iran, Shmuck being at the helm, has raised the Shia Islam red flag on top of Jam Quran Mosque. This flag signifies revenge and war. It has been raised during every military conflict with Israel. And it's up now. Take it lightly if you want. A lot of the other prepper, survivalist, right-wing sites make snide remarks about Trump, but they keep it quiet. They don't throw it out in the open like I do. They say, well, Trump can change his mind. He changes his mind a lot. They don't say he's a coward. They know he's a coward. And when they're talking amongst themselves, they know it. But they're afraid they're going to ruin their offering or their sales of survival goods. That's why they don't do it. Now, I'm going to keep laying the plot out. Chinese satellites, or reconnaissance aircraft, I should say, are taking pictures of, or they could be drones or whatever, but they've got pictures of where the United States is setting up their anti-missile systems, their Patriots and their THAADs in the Middle East and the countries like Saudi and Kuwait and stuff like that. So they're able to convey photographs to the Iranians, so the Iranians know exactly where the THAADs and the Patriot launches are, so they could construct coordinates and attack them with missiles. Now, these are not 1,000-mile missile shots to Egypt. They're substantially closer, much, much, much closer. So they're going to probably have much, much greater accuracy. So this is what America does America and NATO do for Ukraine to help them hit precisely Russian targets of a military or an oil nature or whatever. So if the military of America starts in, the Iranians will launch missiles and drones in volume at these locations where the missiles have been found on the photographs and stop them from working. So what would happen next is not rocket science. The Americans will move or tell the country they put the weapons systems in to relocate the weapons system. It doesn't have to go very far. If it goes 300 yards, it's pretty good. But I think it'd probably be 500-600 yards away, because that's all you need. but it might even be a mile or something. I don't know. They'll take care of it. But then China can just take another picture again, can't they? So they can take pictures just before the Iranians launch and they'll know the precise location. So this is another complication we're getting. Is it likely that America will head off the Chinese warships headed to the region? It's more likely that Trump will tell China he's going to put 100% tariffs on them if they do it, and China will tell Trump that's very good and go ahead and enjoy yourself because they know the end of America comes near. Okay. The destroyers that we're getting from China are called missile destroyers. Like America, they launch missiles, usually a cruise type missile, anti ship missiles, other kinds of missiles, like America. Okay. Um, so the three countries participating in these drills is Iran, Russia, and China. And this is a game changer. And Trump might actually be bringing an armada over here. Although, guys, I cannot get any verification on Trump's armada. Nobody knows where the ships are, how many ships there are, where they're going, where they came from, when they left, where they did nothing. Nobody can get anything on these things. So it's like they don't exist. Okay? And it could be because they don't exist. There are no ships coming over here. Trump has probably about 8 to 9 ships, warships up around the Persian Gulf, straight, the Hormuz, the Indian Ocean over there, Sea of Oman. They got about 8 or 9, probably maybe 9. And they got that one down in a lot. They might have 8 there, and they got something maybe in the Mediterranean, something by a lot. It's something like that. So it's 9 or 10. And the Iranian armada, there's 15 or 17. But 17 Chinese, Russian, and Iranian warships are not as powerful as 9 or 10 or even 8 American ones. And America has submarines there now. Does China and Russia have submarines in the region too? We know Iran does. They deployed 4. Now, what could this very likely be? I'll tell you. Iran will go through with their plans to close the Persian Gulf, to bring the world to their knees and stop people telling them what to do. And stop people promoting revolutions in Iran. And China and Russia will back them. And let's explain that. China will continue to get its oil. Now, Trump, listen hard to me. Right now, this is very important. Trump has said he's going to embargo or close the Persian Gulf. Well, that's just this moron. I'm going to start calling Trump a moron, people, because he is, okay? He's trying to take what he learned in real estate and apply it to war in the Middle East with Muslim fanatics and Chinese communists and desperate Russians. Not smart at all. Moron behavior, okay? So there are people saying that the Pentagon is not honestly conveying to Trump the limitations of their plans. It might be that they are explaining accurately the limitations of their plans, but Trump's not getting it. It could be that I'm saying that. It could be either way, but Trumpster is definitely not getting it, okay? So China needs oil. They're getting 90% from Iran right now. They really need oil. They're not, I mean, that's not a joke. They need oil. And they don't need oil at $120 a barrel or something like that. If the price today is still $60, $65, they're probably paying 40. Okay, Iran's making money at it. And that's important to them because it helps them with their manufacturing. Okay, and selling crazy products, just about everything under the sun all around the world, you know. You go to AliExpress, the only thing that I think you can't buy there are, guns, bombs, narcotics, and slaves. I mean, other than that, I think you could get anything, you know. I've seen China sell medicines that are prescription, but not like what you're thinking, like salves, like high content cortisone and creams and it's stuff like that. Do they sell antibiotics? They probably do. The way people used to buy antibiotics that wanted them without getting a prescription was they used these in fish tanks. People would frequently dump antibiotics like tetracycline in the fish tank. And matter of fact, I'm thinking when we had fish years ago and they were dying, we kept increasing and improving the air, the putting the air in the tank and all. And then the guy kept, every time we turned around, they were telling us you had to put more money in the tank and more money in the tank, and or the fish are going to die. And then finally, I just said, "Look, it's enough's enough." And then the fish did die. I think we gave some away. I don't remember what happened, but they did die. And maybe if I put the antibiotic, because the guys they were trying to, I wasn't in America. They were trying to rip me off, and maybe all I should have done was put the antibiotics in the tank, and it would have cleaned the problem up. I didn't think of that at the time. I just thought of it just now. So you might be able to buy that. But anyway, I'm not interested in that right now. So, all right. So China is worried that Trump's going to shut the Persian Gulf. Okay. Now, China and Russia and Iran and North Korea and probably Belarus and a lot of other countries, Muslim countries heavily, want to trade on BRICS without the US dollar. Okay? to get rid of America, pushing everybody around. And Trump has been stopping them. He's had Ukraine, his puppet, and NATO's puppet, bomb and attack Russia relentlessly, attacking oil refineries, oil storage depots, and hurting the amount of oil that Russia can sell. So it's not Russia. I don't know if Russia can supply Iran with all, China with all it needs. Venezuela was a place that China could rely on for a backup, and so what they want to do is make sure they get their oil. So if the Persian Gulf is closed, okay, this is what the game plan would be. It's not really hard to see it. China definitely is going to get their oil, all they want, out of Iran. And Iran's going to love it because they're getting the money. Now, they could get paid in a Chinese bank in, what do they call it? Whatever the Chinese money is. I forgot. I don't know. Whatever. They could get, what happens is China opens up an account in one of their banks in China. They got like HSBC. They got a lot of big banks there. Open up an account for some, Jingwan Ping Ding Bong oil company or something, right? And then when they pick the oil up, they just put the money in that account, and Iran can use that money in Chinese currency to buy a lot of other stuff, okay? But China also has, they deal in something like 8 or 9 currencies. Okay, so they'll have Russian rubles, they'll have dollar accounts there, but the dollar account may be too painful for Iran to use. But they'll have euros, they'll have British pound, they'll have Swiss franc, Japanese yen, maybe Korean money, maybe Canadian, probably Canadian. And maybe 1 or 2 others, but that's probably where we're running out. Okay. So, as long as Iran stays off the US dollars, they can get pretty far. So China's kind of helping them out. Now, China's not under the same crushing degree of sanctions as Russia. So basically, Iran buys a corporation, or they probably buy 500 at a time, and all these 500 corporations open up bank accounts, and they're, maybe going to be single-use accounts or multiple or whatever, and then they get that money, and then they dummy up a payment to a bank in Switzerland or Belgium or someplace, Monaco, or who knows where, someplace that is going to be more free to disperse the money. So they make believe they bought something, maybe shoes or sweaters or, oranges, and they transfer the money over there. And then it winds up that it's another corporation and they could use it. And then they use the money in the regular free banking system, just trying to avoid the US dollar, that's all. So, basically, that's how they're laundering it, I guess. It's very simple. It's not very complicated. And then you have all the Bitcoins and the 6 or 7 like Bitcoin that could be used also. China will play ball there. So what Trump is doing is he realizing that the sanctions don't work because China and Russia got these black fleets and all this stuff. and Iran that they're using to sell oil. So what he has to do is stop the oil from physically leaving the Persian Gulf, and that will enforce the sanctions, and that will break Iran and bring Iran to their knees or get the country broken up. Do you understand? Okay. So China doesn't want to see that happen. What China wants to see is they want to see a BRICS with Saudi Arabia, who's in BRICS, UAE, who's in BRICS, Iran, who's in BRICS, and Russia, who's in BRICS, selling oil off the US dollar. So the demand for the US dollar goes down substantially. Okay. And weakens America. But they also want to see Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and Oman also be selling off the US dollar, the oil. So they'll really be able to cripple America's demand for the US dollar and weaken the dollar more. Not hard to understand. Okay. So China wants to stop America from stopping the oil. Russia wants to stop America for what America is doing to them. And they want to continue with their BRICS and break America economically without a knockout war. That's not going to happen. I don't think. It might, but. All right. Now, so the Chinese and the Russians may just sit there protecting Iran from getting retaliation over its blockade. And then what happens is the world starts to suffer. Now, I have told you that the amount of oil, leaving the LNG out of it, which is also there, but the amount of oil moving around could be up to 45% of the world's oil. I'm saying 2025. I'm hearing it could be as high as 45%. I want to research that very quickly. Give me another. I want to use another program to do it, another AI. If Iran shuts the Persian Gulf, what percentage of the world's oil will stop flowing? This is the other one. It's saying 20% of global petroleum consumption, roughly 20 to 21 million barrels per day of oil and refined products, blah, 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 will stop. Then it's saying 25 to 30% of global seaborne oil trade, since a massive portion of the world's oil is moved by tankers rather than pipelines. So it could actually get up to 30%. Well, this is what I came up with. I'm pretty close. I said 20 to 25% in the Persian Gulf, probably 25%. And then I said if Yemen closes the Red Sea, which they're going to do, plus the waters underneath Yemen, they're going to close all that. That's 8.5% of the oil. So, they're saying it could be 38.5% basically, or it could be lower number. So it's probably going to hover someplace around 1/3 of the oil. Okay? 1/3. Roughly. Okay? Do you think that's serious? It's incredibly serious. Because it's got a fear factor that's extremely high. Now let's take another look. So it's what percent of the LNG would be affected now, liquid natural gas? I don't think that high, but let's get a figure. Well, I got to get short version from this. It's giving me a whole diatribe here. I just wanted a number. Okay. It's 20% of the LNG also, and then we could probably estimate the Red Sea would be 8.5%, probably very similar. So you got just not the oil, you got the LNG going crazy. Most of you Americans are using LNG to get your hot water heater running in your house. You have a hot water heater in your garage or in a closet in your apartment somewhere, and it's got a line and it's feeding LNG into it. And you got a pilot light and it keeps it at a certain temperature depending on how you set it. That's LNG. You're also using it for your barbecue grills. Most of you aren't using it for much else, but that's, you know, what it is. Uh, it's got a lot of other uses in the world, of course. Okay. Now you got to understand the Chinese are probably going to bring more destroyers over there, but I don't have a firm figure. I did have the names of the ones that are already there, but what's the point of that? You know the names of Chinese destroyers. So I didn't bother with that. Um, if you're going to sink a Chinese destroyer, what is China going to do? They're going to sink an American destroyer, perhaps in the Pacific, but they're going to do something ugly like that. China's not about to go around and let a weak president like Trump sink their ships. If George Patton was president, maybe they'd be scared. But with a schmuck like Trump, and he's an idiot, you have to understand Trump is your enemy. He's destroying you. Okay, you don't see it. I know. He talks so good, but his actions are so bad, so terrible. You must evaluate these politicians by their actions, not by what they say. If you go by what they say, you're going to go crazy. His actions are horrible. America is in a very precarious position right now because there's a lot of nations that hate America, Muslim nations and others. And they realize that Trump is so weak and afraid to do anything involving war. They're going to get enough guts and attack you. It's in the Bible, Jeremiah 50:51. Now, if you don't have enough problems with Trump, you're getting more. Trump is now going after Cuba. See, did he ever really go after Venezuela? No. Did he send special forces in to kidnap Maduro? Yeah. Did they get defectors and maybe pay people to help them? Probably. I don't know. Maybe not. But that's all he ever did. But they're not going to get Khomeini. Mm-mm. I wouldn't think they're going to kidnap him. They may blow him up. They're up to 4 B-52 bombers in uh, the Diego Garcia area, over there for Iran. And, people are saying they're loading them up with cruise missiles and stuff like that. Here's a real fear that I got from an expert is that Trump is going to go back. Well, what he's saying is Trump's going to hit the IRGC. And I'm going to say, why would he hit the IRGC? He would hit the IRGC to get them to stop harassing and killing the protesters. Okay, so what he's trying to do is have the protesters rise up again without getting killed or shot and take over Iran, get rid of Khomeini, and the Shah's son comes in, and then Chevron can come in and get the Iranian oil going. This is his plan, and they don't want to see this happen. If Iran finishes Russia off and America finishes Iran off, BRICS doesn't have much of a chance of being able to kill the US dollar. BRICS can run around and do things, and they were always going to be able to sell cotton and corn and oranges on, currencies other than US dollar, and that's it. But what Trump's trying to protect is the oil because that's massive money. Oil is called black gold. Although gold is so valuable now, I don't think it's that relevant, but oil could go up very quickly. So what he did to Maduro is he's likely going to try to do in Cuba. And Cuba's not defended. It's easy to take Cuba out. They could kidnap the leaders and bring them for trial. They could execute them. They could do all kinds of things. They've got a base on Cuba in Gitmo, Guantanamo Bay. They can bring soldiers in there and just walk into Cuba. And, there's all sorts of stuff they can do. And, he's not going to scare anybody, but he may take Cuba over and he may incorporate it into the United States. Trustee, protectorate, a state, who the heck knows? He's probably not going to want to make it a state because if he makes it a state, they're all going to go on welfare. That's how they would bring him down, I guess. What Trump is afraid of is what happened in 1959 with Russia bringing missiles over there. Cuba's 90 miles from America. And that's what Trump doesn't want to see. And it may have already happened. Trump is talking about, well, he already ordered this to put tariffs on people or countries that are supplying Cuba with oil products. Mostly that is pointed at Mexico. Venezuela is, I believe, stopped doing it. Trump got that to stop. So he wants to break Cuba off of their oil. Um, he sees Cuba as a risk. If you think Greenland is a risk, man, Cuba's a heck of a risk. Um, Trump's people are publishing that Cuba only has enough oil reserves to go perhaps 20 days. Um, so they're going to run out of oil, and he wants to probably get a regime change. That's all I can see. He actually in Cuba might actually send the troops in. It's got a very, 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 very low chance of having any serious casualties. It's very, very close to America. He doesn't have to stage. He could just go in from Florida, and it's something he can do easily. There's pretty good agricultural land in Cuba, and they make some products that are pretty good: rum, coffee, cigars, and food stuff. Of course, you understand the American destroyer that's in the Red Sea by Eilat is there to take down missiles that the Houthis in Yemen will shoot at Israel. So the U.S. has got some expectations of missiles coming from Yemen towards Israel. So there are four B-52s in Diego Garcia now. So the problem that this expert sees is that Trump will hit the IRGC to continue with his plan to overthrow the country through the protesters, and he won't cause much damage at all. And he definitely will not impede Iran from using their many mobile missile launchers and their missile cities, which is say we have 100 of them to deal with or more, that are embedded in the ground and very hard to get. And Iran will embark on a reign of terror in the Middle East, hitting the refineries of many of the countries and attacking the Iranian missiles and the plant. And that's a fear that people have. And that's Trump's pattern that he did the last time, the very little damage. He brought a lot of assets over here and did very little damage. It appears that one B-52 can carry 80 cruise missile types. So if you launch 4 of those, you're going to have a 320 count missile attack on Iran, which is pretty bad. No, I'm sorry, it's incorrect. They can carry 20 cruise missiles, not 80, 20. So it's 80 combined. Had it wrong. The 4 of them could get 80. That's not that much. But maybe they can get close enough and break through the Iranian missile defense systems. Trump might also have some aspirations of using missiles that have not weapons in general that have not been tested before, and using them in Iran. This is speculative, though. I can't give you any facts on that. I don't know. Now, this is another comment we just got out of Iran. So Iran's talking tough now. China and Russia are joining in. This guy's name is Kamran Ghazantari, a member of the Iranian parliament. His threat goes like this. If the U.S. attacks, we will attack Washington, D.C. That's Revelation 18, possibly. So this could possibly be the sudden attack on Washington, D.C. And how could he do that? Because he can't send missiles from Iran over there. You're right. He can't. But what he can do is get off the coast of America and send drones and missiles from ships offshore that look like commercial vessels, and they're warships disguised. So, yeah. They also were nasty. They posted, I believe, in social media, this figure, 11,000 kilometers. 11,000 kilometers is the distance from Iran to Washington, D.C. So they're being subtle, but not really being subtle. $86,677 is the latest death count for let's call them the protesters in Iran. And Trump just hung them out to get dried. And more are going to be getting killed. And Trump doesn't care. And he doesn't care about you or anybody. That's what you people don't understand. You think he's a real good guy. He's not. He's just another S-bot. Now they're telling us that 2 million Israelis are below the poverty line here in Israel, including 1 in 4 kids are living below the poverty line. National insurance figures, which is the government, for 2024, that's a long time ago, show 21% of Israelis live in poverty, including 880,000 children and 150,000 elderly citizens, the second highest rate of child poverty among OECD countries. So between, well, I want to tell you that we're in trouble here. And my offerings this past month, January, were horrible again. And we're in trouble. I told my wife to buy these cheap hamburgers that look good and stop buying more expensive meat for me. She didn't want to do it. She didn't like it, but she'll do it, I think. They taste good and they got meat in them, and that's it. I mean, it's getting that bad. We gave somebody yesterday some vegetables, carrots, that has a bunch of children. It's bad here, I'm telling you. And I want to tell you that Netanyahu and Trump are like birds of a feather and they flock together. And Netanyahu, in my opinion, is an enemy of Israel. He wants an Israel, but he doesn't want a real Israel. He wants something that him and Trump could run that, it's just a fake Israel. And that's what the Israel is today. It's a fake Israel. So what they're doing is, there's people are telling me, now the figures are being disguised. We don't know. But I'm hearing since the war started October 7th, 2023, that about 450,000 Israelis have moved out of Israel. Now, I'll try artificial intelligence in a minute to see what it comes up with, but I don't know. And I don't know if AI knows either, because Israel's not going to let on. How would Israel know? Israel would know because when the people leave, they're going to stop making payments to the national insurance system. Now, the national insurance system goes and it works with various things: your health insurance, your disability insurance, burial money if you die, and a few other things, okay? And when you're out of Israel, you can't use it. If you're working for a company and you go on a business trip, you can pay money or ask for permission. I said, well, I'm going to be in Australia for a week, and could I get insurance coverage in Australia? And they'll hit you with a fee or something, and you can sometimes accomplish that. Okay? If there's something wrong with you and you're trying to go overseas to get a surgery or something like that, they won't do it. So it has to be that you don't have a pre-existing condition. So if you went to Australia or Japan, which happens to have good doctors in Japan, and you went over there and you all of a sudden popped up with some gallbladder condition and you had to have your gallbladder removed or something like that, the insurance company might sit there and scratch their head and say, well, you didn't just coincidentally get a gallbladder condition in the last week. You had it and you played games with us, and then they won't pay for it. So now, that being said, if you were overseas and you got bit by a poisonous snake in Australia, yeah, they wouldn't think you did that on purpose. They would pay for that, Or if you fell down steps and you needed some bone surgery for broken bones, yeah, they would pay for that, stuff like that. And anyway, so when people go overseas, they're gonna, if they're not gonna tell the government that they're gone, they're gonna get dinged every month on their credit card or their bank account. The money for the health insurance will get taken out. Now, for me, because I'm old and my wife is old, it doesn't cost much money at all. But if you're, 45 years old, it'll cost you a bunch of money. So they're not going to keep those payments going when they're gone, or they're going to leave for a few years. So the government will know how many people did that. Now, if you go for 2 or 3 months, you generally are never going to turn off your health insurance, because when you go and you turn it off and you come back, the health insurance people give you a 6-month waiting period where they won't treat you health-wise, but you got to make the payments. So if you leave Israel for 2 years and you come back, your payments start again for 180 days, and you can't use the system. But then after that, you can't. That's how they do. Because they're afraid some Israelis left, and then they wind up getting some dread disease, or they need some real expensive surgery, so they come back to Israel. And they go into the hospital and get the surgery fixed, and then they just leave again. So that's why they do the 6 months. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying that's what they do. So when I came back to Israel after being gone a long time, I thought they were just scamming me because I was an Anglo. I wasn't a native-born Israeli. So I went to the boss of the place. I said, "What is it you're telling me?" Because I don't trust them. You're telling me that I've got to make insurance payments for 6 months and I don't get to use the insurance? What the heck is that about? And he said, "Well, it's not just for health insurance. You have other benefits." So I imagine if I got struck by lightning and couldn't take care of myself, that wouldn't be considered a pre-existing condition because it came on suddenly, and then the disability and stuff would kick in, I assume. I don't know. But anyway, so let's see how many people, if we can get a figure, how many people did leave Israel since October 7th, 2023. I have no idea if we'll get a figure. How many Israelis have left Israel since the war started in October 7, 2023 to now, if you know? There isn't a single exact number publicly released. Yeah. Estimates. They're saying 82,000 left in 2024. And then they're saying 69,000 of those, 69,000 as well, reported year and figure what? It's saying a rough figure of 150,000. Though not all of these left immediately after October 7th. They keep saying these figures are not good. They're just, you know, I'm hearing it's about a 500,000. No, they don't know. I think it's less. It's higher than that. Housing prices have dropped. Rents have dropped some, but they're still high. Uh, so how will Netanyahu plan on lowering housing costs? This is a joke. He'll keep getting us into wars, more and more Israelis leave, and by the time you have 1 million Israelis that left Israel, the housing prices will become somewhat more realistic. But there's other problems that Netanyahu doesn't want. I'll tell you what they are. The rents will definitely come down because there's a lot of people in Israel that are no longer looking for housing because they're living in other countries. So the landlords aren't going to sit there and say, well, I'll be a holdout until I get somebody paying me a lot of money, because that person coming along paying them a lot of money ain't around anymore. It's not happening. So the landlord's going to he's going to be thinking, if I try to hold out for high prices, I could be sitting here with 6 months no rent. So he's going to try to get the rent down to the market level and hope for the best. That's how they'll do it. The smarter landlords will go 5 or 10% under the market level because it's smarter to get the house rented fast rather than have a 2 or 3 month vacancy. But the Israelis aren't that bright. So, and also they have a thing with, a lot of them are despots and nasty people that are landlords, and they want money, and they're just not nice people. They want to rip off their fellow Israelis. So, but the rents are down, and they will continue to come down. But the food costs are killing us. Um, they're just so high. They've gone up 20% during the war, and this piece of garbage Netanyahu has done nothing about it because the supermarkets just did it randomly because they could get away with it and blame it on the war. And they researched it and they came up with it had nothing to do with the war. They just decided they would rip everybody off. These are Satan bots, okay? Now Netanyahu's not mad at them because they're doing what Netanyahu wants. Doesn't want any poor people here because poor people are people that are not Satan bots. He wants people with a lot of money here, which are typically Satan bots. That's his form of Israel, a Satan bot run Israel. Okay? He can't get rid of everybody because a lot of these native born Israelis they have nowhere to go. They're not going anywhere. So they're going to be the workers for the Satan bots. That's his model, okay? And I'm telling you that's what it is, okay? Believe it or not, that's what it is. So uh the problem with people leaving is a lot of these people have mortgages, okay? Now, many Israelis don't go for mortgages because you got to put a large amount down. You're not going to get a house for 5 or 10% down or no down payment. It ain't going to happen. You're probably going to get a house for 50% down or 25% or 20. Maybe if you're 30 years old and you're working and you've had a good job for a few years, they might do 30. They might give you 20% down, something like that. Okay. Now, a lot of people in Israel will do crazy things as Americans view it. They'll buy the land first, so they'll have a piece of land with nothing on it, right? Because you can't borrow money to buy land in Israel. It's just not going to do it. Maybe they would do it at 50% down. Maybe they would do that. Because they figure, how could they lose if you don't make the payments? They'll just sell the land, And when you buy land, you don't have to put insurance on it because land doesn't burn. Okay, the vegetation on the land could burn, but has no effect on the property value if it's unless it's agricultural land, it has no effect. So then they save money and they get a foundation built. Then they might wait a year and they get something else built and wait a year. So they might take 5 or 6 years building the house without having the bank involved. So by the time they get done, they have a house and they have it free and clear. And they build what I would call illegal housing units with the blessings of that garbage bucket Netanyahu, who shouldn't be doing this. And they'll put in the house usually 2, in some cases 3 living units, and they have no bomb shelters. So they're in violation of the law in Israel. But Netanyahu lets it go through, of course. For slumlords are normally people that have money and they're Satan bots, because the non-Satan bots usually can't afford to go build a big house and rent it out. That's Satan bot activity. Okay, so what happens? They put people in the house who have no bomb shelter. They live in the main house, which has the bomb shelter, and then they have little apartments, and sometimes not so little, that they rent out. That's what goes on. Okay? Now, when the Israelis leave Israel because they're fearful of getting blown up, they don't want themselves and their family getting blown up. A lot of Israelis think there won't ever be an Israel anymore. Israel will come to an end. A lot of them believe that. And a lot of them have European passports. They got American, they got other countries, South America, some. And they go back. They go, and they can get a job. They have friends and family to help them, and they get set up, and they go to work. So what do they do with the house? Well, if they have the house free and clear, they can rent it, but they're not here to manage the rent, so they have to get somebody to do it for them, a friend, a relative, a realtor, somebody like that. They can do that. Or they sell the house, which could take a long time unless they bring it down below market, then it won't. They can do that. And they could also wind up trying to sell the house and it doesn't sell and nobody's renting it and it's just sitting there rotting and they're not making any money off it, and that happens too. Now, there's other people that have a mortgage and they leave and they don't have enough money to pay the mortgage, and they're going to be reluctant to default on it because they know when they come back to Israel, there'll be the piper to pay, but they might default on the mortgage. The bank can't do very much of anything against them in another country. They could try it, but it probably wouldn't work. And it would cost them a lot of money. I doubt they would do it. Now, if you had a $3 million house, or even $1 million US house, maybe, and you hung them out to dry for $250,000, they might come after you. They try to research where you are, how much money you got, and if they thought you had money, then they might file a lawsuit in that other country. It may cost them $25,000 or $40,000, but if they thought that you had $250,000 that they could get, they would probably try it. So if the banks start getting defaults, they got trouble. So this is another problem. But Netanyahu is definitely trying to run people out of Israel. He's not doing anything to bring people into Israel. Nothing. he sits there and talks. Oh, we're the friendliest country to Christians. Yeah, find out how he deals with Jewish people that become messianic. They hate him. They pick on him against the Supreme Court rulings, all kinds of bad things. Supreme Court said they're entitled to come to Israel as Jews. And when anybody does Aliyah in Israel, they ask them, are you now or were you ever a believer in Jesus or Yeshua? And if you say yes, they turn you down immediately. Then you have to get a lawyer. You have to file an appeal in the high court in Israel for discrimination, and you will win because the law is on your side. There is a Supreme Court decision in your favor, but they just violate it anyway because Netanyahu won't do anything about it when they violate the Supreme Court decision. So they keep violating it because the ultra-Orthodox run it. If the ultra-Orthodox were not running it, normal people in Israel were running it, they would follow the Supreme Court decision and Messianics could go to Israel. Do you understand? Because Netanyahu gets elected by these bums, the ultra-Orthodox, who don't want their kids going in the army. They think their kids are superior. And they want to get extra money from Israel all the time to be supported so they don't have to work. This is rather comical, but it's sad, but true. And they're the ones that are picking on the Messianics, and basically they're anti-Christian, and nobody ever talks about that, of course. Okay, so Netanyahu does nothing to bring people in. Okay, I mean, what he should be doing is saying, if you want to come to Israel, we'll help you. We can give you a place to live for a year. We can teach you Hebrew. We can support you for a year. They did that. They used to do that. They would give the people what amounts to unemployment insurance, basically, every month or every 2 weeks or something while they were here before they were working, so they would get supported. They got free health care. They didn't have to pay for the health insurance, and they could bring a container in with no taxes, and they were able to buy a car without paying the 100% tax. So they got a great deal on a car. Okay, so if you were talking about a $20,000 car that costs $40,000 for an Israeli, they could buy it for $20,000. That's a big difference. And a lot of other things, okay? And this is the way it used to be. And they used to give people from poor countries, it's called a basket of currency, money to buy furniture and beds and refrigerators and stuff like that. So they really helped people, okay? And now they don't help anybody. And when they do bring people in that are getting aid, they have to go to the Ulpan, and if they don't do the language school, if they don't do good at the language school, all their benefits are canceled. That never was the case, ever. And they don't teach them the right way in the language school. The government language Ulpans don't teach like they used to teach 25, 30 years ago before Netanyahu. They teach them crappy Hebrew doesn't teach them to function the way the Israelis function. And it's hard. And if they come here and they're not getting government aid, if they want to go to the language school, they can go. It's free. If they don't want to, nobody cares. Don't go. It's fine with us. Stay here. Enjoy Israel. But they're not giving them any money. So if they flunk the language school, they got to move back to their country because a lot of them come from poor countries. They have no money. You see what he does? He's such an evil person, and people think he's a good guy. He's the sick man. That's the sick man. Like Khomeini, this is another manifestation of a sick man. But you know what? They're all sick men. All of Satan's people running every country in the world are sick men. Trump's a sick man. Xi Jinping's a sick man. Putin's a sick man. All of them are that way. Every single one of them. In every country. That's what's going on. So, it's really bad here. We worry now because combined with the offerings are down. People don't like it when I job. They don't like it. I got to do this because this is going to help you understand what's happening. I can't just run around and do Bible studies and then leave you guys unaware. Is that my job? No. So I can't cater to people that don't want me to do this because then I can't do my job. So then I don't get offerings from a lot of people. They don't like it when I do this. But I give you stuff about the war that you never get anywhere else. And I interpret it with prophecy, which you don't get correctly anywhere else, or not that I know of, or occasionally somebody does stumble onto the truth and talk about it, but they don't have the true gospel. And, I get punished. So then the offerings don't come in, so we suffer. And now we're suffering again, and so I would ask you to pray that if the offerings are not going to come in, that the Lord move me to something else. That might be boots on the ground here, or it may be I work and do this. Maybe I just do, 2 or 3 times a week, I do a 20, 30-minute video or something like that. I've already taught the Bible, the true gospel. That's been done. That's been taught. Okay. You can't keep going back every week and finding new prophecies. There's only so many. And you can't go back and find new doctrines. There's only so many. So I could just do, maybe nothing, or maybe just brief things, but I can't go like this. Okay. There's 18,300 subscribers, and let me think for a minute. 1% give, maybe, not even maybe. That's, how long do you think I should continue like this? What do you think? And I know there's plenty of you that are nice, but it's no longer enough. The rent is so high. The electric is so high. And the food prices are crazy. The gasoline prices are crazy. We got to make repairs on the house because the landlords won't. And the dog food's expensive. And the offerings are going down. For years, I never used to have to worry about this like this, but now it's horrible. It's horrible. People leave. They just go off into the wilderness. I don't know where they are. The offerings go with them. So I don't know. So I say, pray for me. Pray that, maybe I should be stopping this now. Maybe its time has come and it's over. And I'm not waking up to the fact that it's done. The Bible studies have been done over and over and over. You could go play them and keep doing them. I mean, teaching the true gospel's been taught. I mean, when Paul and them went to a place, they didn't stay there for 13 years. They went and taught and they moved on. They were teaching the true gospel. You better believe it. So, maybe it's time I do something else. Maybe I should sell tents or something. It's not working very well at all anymore. It's getting pretty ugly. And I don't like, talking like this, but maybe I should be doing something else. I don't know. Could I make a living doing this? I'm quite sure I could with the internet, but I've done this for many years, but I have to come to grips with the fact that this is maybe run out. It's just over, that's it. People don't want to hear it anymore. If you go back to 2015 or 16, and you're talking about the end coming, and the end was so far away. Oh, yeah, it's a great the end. Now it's actually happening, and they don't want it. They don't want it. So they reject me. They're rejecting the scriptures, they're rejecting the Lord, but they think they're rejecting me. And then you've got the ones that just believe that there's no reason to support ministers of the gospel. They just don't want them. So someone sent a prayer request in. Okay, we have a prayer request for RS, Romeo Sierra, RS, Romeo Sierra. The prayer request is for healing for diabetic neuropathy. So I'll do the prayer and you can agree. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for RS, Romeo Sierra. I pray for healing from this diabetic neuropathy and other things that may be impeding the health of this person and the damage that it did. I pray for all this, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. There's a thing called TENS unit, TENS, TENS. We recently, the other day, got one from my wife, and she's really enjoying the benefits from it, recovering from the stroke, which is neuropathy. It's a little thing. It costs 81 shekels, I don't know, $26 or something like that, and it sends brief little electronic shocks through pads in different parts of your body. You need to look it up on the internet. Try AI for it and learn about it. I can't. I'm not going to teach it here. I don't know that much about it anyway. TENS, TENS. It's electrical stuff. Okay, I'll be right back. So years ago, I used to get more offerings. The rent was much lower. Cost of living was much lower. It's just all hit us, and I'm just like the millions of Israelis that are at the poverty line. Afraid to spend money. It's just terrible. So I think I'm doing the wrong thing. I don't know why I would think I'm doing the right thing. People will say, "Oh, you're a blessing. You're a blessing," and yeah, I agree. But it's destructive to me. So like I say, there's only so many scriptures, so many prophetic scriptures. All right. Yeah. Pick up a bottle of water. I got it on the floor here. I got my water reserves. All right. The latest manifestation of Trump's idiocy and going back on his word is with Gaza disarming. The latest thing Trump's talking about now is proposing a buyback program to demilitarize weapons at Gaza. Remember how many times he told us he was going to bomb Gaza if they didn't demilitarize? See, he's so bad, this guy. The best thing that could happen to America is they impeach Trump. You're better with Biden than Trump. Well, maybe not, because he opened the gates up with the immigration, but Trump is so bad. He's as bad as Biden. He's as bad as Obama. He is, really, differently, but he's horrible. He's going to cause you to get attacked. So he's talking about barring Hamas from any role in governing the country. Look, they're not buying back their weapons. The latest I heard, they said, we never said we're disarming. That was the other day. They're not doing it. So you got 2 million Israelis here living in the poverty line. And that means Netanyahu is a sick man. And he's friends with Trump. That means they're both sick men. A lot of you don't understand that, but that's the truth. This is another statement coming out of Iran. The representative of the supreme leader Khamenei in the Revolutionary Guards, his name is Abdullah, I think it's Abdallah, maybe Abdullah, Hali Saji. The United States is all talk. You better understand that's what Trump is. You better get that down. But he's going to get forced into a war. And you're not going to like it because it's going to happen in the home front all over America. Yeah. And you're going to lose because this guy's such a bumbling idiot. It's all talk. America's all talk and no action, and does not dare to enter a real confrontation. That's what I say. This is the truth. You can accept it or not. You've got a con man playing America. That's what you got. And that's why they hated him. And that's why they want to get rid of him. He's terrible. Look what he did to the people in Iran. 86,677 dead, the number rising on his phony promises. He did that to them. He's going to do that to America. He'll do that to Israel. He'll do that to everybody. He's a sick man. He goes on to say the U.S. understands that any miscalculation will cost it dearly. The most important thing in calculations is that you are miscalculating what is coming to you. Yeah. Well, I don't think Trump's miscalculating. I think Trump's very afraid of what will come, and and he just tries to disguise it because it's all about image. He acts like a child. They all do. All the Satan bots behave like children. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warns the UN is facing a severe financial collapse. The cash flow will last until this coming July. There are outstanding commitments of about $1.5 billion. Countries are not paying the money they pledged to transfer, so they'll get that fixed. In the background of these statements is the withdrawal of the U.S. from many United Nations bodies and the halt in funding promoted by the Trump administration. The U.S. is responsible for 22% of the United Nations budget. And Trump sees it as a highly ineffective organization, which it is. Doesn't want to pay it. Anything Trump tries gets vetoed by China or Russia. Anything they try gets vetoed by Trump in the UK. So it's a joke. It truly is a joke, and it doesn't do any good anymore. It should be done away with. It's a waste. Now I'm going to switch to Bible for a while. Now, I don't know if I'm supposed to stop doing these broadcasts because the money's not coming in, or it's the people's fault that are not giving the money in. Maybe I'm doing the right thing because I'm not getting conviction for doing this. So I think the shoe is on the people's foot. They're the ones that are under conviction. And I think that the Lord's having me talk about this, and if they refuse to do it, then there's going to be a change, and I don't know what's going to happen with the ones that are going to continue with the covetousness. I don't know. I imagine they'll just stop following the true gospel and go chase some Satan bot. That's what I think will happen. So I don't think I'm in error here. I think they're in error. Okay, on the gold and silver, by the way, gold went down to 48.89 and silver went down to 85. That was early this morning. Substantial drops. So that's what I told you they're doing there. It's called, they're acquiring. Okay. So they pushed the prices down, not very much, but as far as they could get them down. And then they're going to acquire, so when the war in Iran takes place, they'll have very great profits. Okay. Now, they might not be thinking that gold's going to go to 7,500 or 10,000. They're thinking maybe gold's going to go to 6,000 or 63 or something like that. So if they got it down where they got it right now and it goes to 62, 63, it's a big profit. But I think it's going to go higher than they think. And I think there also, a lot of them are accumulating hard gold and silver because they know that things could get very, very bad. It's not common knowledge yet that Chinese destroyers are in the Persian Gulf area with Iran and their navy, and that Russian destroyers can also be there or will shortly be there. And it's also, we don't know how many more Chinese and Russian destroyers and warships are coming, if any. We don't know. Okay, but we do know America doesn't have very many there. And we do know Trump is a baby and he's scared. Very, very scared. And I told you once, and I'll tell you again, Trump has so many properties around the world that could be attacked by enemies in a war. They could burn them, they could blow them up, they could sabotage them, they could kill people there, and wreck the property values of everything with the name Trump on it. So he has a conflict of interest. And you don't want to accept that because you think Trump's going to be the make America great again, and he's just destroying the place. You know. So you got to understand. Now, when you look at the signs of what's going on, this is where a large amount of people that listen to me fall apart. Okay? They don't understand. There shall be earthquakes in diverse places. So they look at the earthquakes, and there's a lot of earthquakes, and they say, oh, that's a 4.2, that's a 6.0, that's this, that. And they say, well, so what? Okay, what's wrong with that picture? They're looking for earthquakes that are 9.5. When you have a 9.5, you're going to have hundreds of thousands of people dead if it's a populated area. Okay, that's not a sign anymore. That's the actual destruction. Okay, you don't know the difference. These people don't know the difference between the actual destruction and a sign. What happened, listen to me, what happened in Iran, 86,667 dead, and the number is rising for sure. It's going to go over 100,000. That's no longer a sign. That's the destruction of Iran. Do you understand the difference? That's the start of the destruction of Iran when you have a number like that. That's Elam in Jeremiah 49, getting destroyed so bad nobody will live there anymore, and they scatter to all the nations, every nation in the world, and then the sword follows them and they get cut off. Why would God follow them with the sword like that? They don't want the mullah, they want to get away from the mullah and stuff like that. Well, We don't know how many million of people or in Iran really want to get away from the mullah. Okay. There's a lot of Muslims in Iran, devout Muslims, that don't want to get away from the mullah. They want to wear a hijab and they want to, all this other sick stuff, right? And the ones that do get away from the mullah, that want to get away from the mullah, do they want to worship Jehovah and Yeshua? Heck no. They want to have an economy. They want to watch movies. They want to have cable TV, open news, open internet. They're not worshiping the Lord. So if either you're with them or you're against them. So they're against Jehovah. And a lot of them are probably against Israel too, even though they're not devout lunatic Muslims. Okay. They want to go for the Shah's son. And then as far as I know, I think he's a Muslim. Let's check that. That's worth checking. It's easy to check. Is the son of the old Shah of Iran a Muslim? Well, he doesn't practice Mohammedanism, is what I got. Um, um, the government that the father had was mostly secular, government, and the royal family's personal religious observance was generally private and not aligned with the clerical establishment that took over after 79. What is known? The royal family, including this, I think the son, comes from a cultural background where Shia Islam was the main religion in society, but the Shah's rule was secular, not religious driven. Reza Pahlavi, whatever his name is, today is known more as a political activist and advocate for a secular democracy in the exile. So he doesn't publicly identify as a Mohammedanism advocate, and he's secular. All right. So that answers that question. Okay. So people don't interpret the signs correctly. So when they see wars and rumors of wars, well, we don't have a lot of wars right now. We have brief wars. But a lot of them are thinking, well, if we have a war where there's 42 countries fighting and the death count is 100,000 every day, that's a war. Well, they don't understand. That's the destruction of the nations. That's not a sign. They don't understand the signs. If the signs were the destruction of the nations, then it wouldn't be the signs, it would be the destruction of nations. They don't understand it. It's not that they're trying to go into denial. They just don't understand it. Okay? ruler versus ruler. Well, they want to see a revolution that's for the United States. They want to see a revolution in the United States where, 11 million people get killed. That's the destruction of America. That's not the sign. The ruler versus ruler is happening now. The governors, the mayors are against Trump and they try to go against him. And the courts go against Trump. Federal courts, state courts, city court. They try to rule against Trump. And that's your ruler versus ruler. A mayor or a governor are rulers. A judge is a ruler. And they go against Trump, who is a ruler also. Do you understand? Volcanoes, it's columns of smoke. And you see those. And they want to see a volcano erupt and kill 492,000 people and, put another 800,000 people out of their houses. And then they're going to say, oh, that's a sign. No, that's destruction of the nations. That's not a sign. A sign is showing you what's coming. Is that not right? What does a traffic sign tell you? What's coming? What's happening? It's not it. There's a difference between a sign and the destruction. And they don't see it. The same with the fires. I will kindle fires in and about your cities. We're seeing that, but are you seeing it in every state in the United States every day? No, because that would be the actual destruction with the fires of the United States in Jeremiah 50 and 51. So the signs of the fires starting up is a sign of what's coming. They don't get it right, so they don't really understand what's going on in the world. Okay? And what the other thing they don't do is they don't put the signs together and look at them as a group. Then they would understand it. That's how the news messes it up. So let's take a run through Matthew 24. Okay. Um, Hang on, I got an idea. Okay, let's go. Verse 1. And Yeshua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yeshua said unto them, see you not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Okay, so what they call the Wailing Wall is the wall from the Roman fort next to the temple. Of course, if all the temple and the wall to the temple would have been thrown down, the walls were made with stones and mortar in there. Okay. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? It doesn't say world, it says age. Let me get into the other one here with the Where am I? Hang on a minute. Okay. So it's saying the end of the age, but the word, it says world, but the word is ion, it means age. This is the influence of the false teachings like Schofield and Darby in the translations in English. The end of the age, and then there's the next age with everlasting life, and that's what they try to cover up. Okay. Satan doesn't want you to know that. He wants you to think that he's going to stay in control all the time, you know. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of the coming, of thy coming? Now, the word for coming is 3952. That's Perusa, but let's go to Strong's to interpret that. It's being near, advent, return. Okay. And then he goes off and he says, punish Jerusalem and stuff like that. That's wrong. So an advent means he's, going up, it's the appearing, okay? But let's keep going. They don't know that. Of thy coming and of the end of the age, okay? So they weren't talking about the end of the world, although they were trying to make you think they were. And Yeshua, and this is very, very difficult to understand, this passage, chapter 24 of Matthew. And Yeshua, because it goes and bounces around many different things, like with Matthew 13, it's not given to them to know the secrets of the kingdom or the keys of the kingdom, so they're not supposed to understand this. So they don't, okay? It's difficult to understand it. And Yeshua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ. Now, that doesn't mean that the people are saying, I'm the Messiah. They're coming in his name. They're saying that Yeshua sent them when he didn't. And they're going to say Yeshua's or Jesus. They use the word Jesus. They don't use Yeshua. And Jesus is the Messiah, and shall deceive many. Those are your false believers. They know they're serving the unclean spirits, the devil, Satan, and they lie about being believers. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Have you heard that? Yes. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. The end of the world, no, the end of the age. Zechariah 12, verse 10 is the actual end of the age. When you have the day of vengeance, you're hitting the end of the age. Redemption is the next age with eternal life, everlasting life. For a nation, for Goyim, shall rise against Goyim, nation against nation. And that you see, shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines. Well, we're getting some famine, not bad famine, no. But we've had them in the past few years, and pestilence. That would be like COVID and other things, and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. These are the things that happen at the beginning. The sorrows is the actual birth pangs. So we've been having that stuff for a long time. So we're advanced now. In the birth pangs, all these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Does this go to 70 AD, or is this happened already? It's very hard to pin this one down. When it says, then shall you, they try to make you think it's in sequence, so you don't understand it. It's basically a new thing. He's saying they're going to deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated. Is that going on today? I'm not seeing it. And then shall many... First of all, it would apply to the true gospel people, and there's so few of those, I'm not seeing it. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. You're probably seeing that today somewhat, I guess. And many false prophets shall rise. Okay, so when you see them with the dreams and the visions on social media, those are false prophets. The dreams and the visions, that's false prophets. Okay. And when they tell you the Lord gave me a prophecy, the Lord gave, they're lying, that's also a false prophet. Okay. And they're going to deceive many, and they sure do. And, I'm always teaching you out of the scriptures, right? And because iniquity, lawlessness shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Oh, we see that. But he that shall endure unto the end of the age, the telos is, I think, the word for it is, end of the age, the same shall be saved. So you got to make it to the end of the age, and I know it's tough. So one more time. And because the lawlessness shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold, and that goes on. But he that shall endure, and that means endure, unto the end, the same shall be saved. You got to endure. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world. Now, that's not the ion word. That's... Let's get a better definition from Strong here. Oh, gosh, it won't. Let me get it to work. Hold on. I got to get it back up. I really dislike these iPads. All right. It can mean land. The globe, as in the world. It seems to be more like the world. So, have we seen let's go back again. And this gospel of the kingdom, now we haven't seen the real gospel, okay, of the kingdom being preached in all the world. We haven't seen that yet. Unless you want to say what I'm doing because people live in different countries, but I don't believe it works that way. Not at all. No, it hasn't happened yet. For a witness unto all heathen nations, or all heathen, and then shall the end come, the end of the age, the day of vengeance is that day, and stuff. Okay. When you therefore, I think the day when redemption starts is also that, which is probably the same day as the day of vengeance. When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, the abomination of desolation is not anything that's going to happen for the end of this age. It happens after, for Ezekiel 38, 39, Gog and Magog. And you could read that in Ezekiel chapters 8 to 11 more accurately. Of course, the church never teaches that. Verses 8 and 9 are quite accurate about what goes on. Verse 8, especially Ezekiel 8. Spoken of by Daniel the prophet. Stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Then, and it's changing it again, let them which be in Judah flee unto the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop. Now this appears to be Ezekiel 38, 39, because the Mount of Olives opens up. They flee through there as a passageway. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothing. See, it doesn't sound like Zechariah 12:10. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them which give suck in those days. See, they're leaving, where in Zechariah 12, we don't leave. See, it's not that. But pray ye, or pray you, that your flight be not in the winter. All right. But pray you that your flight be not in the winter. See, that's the flight. Now, that could in reflection, it does lend itself very, very accurately to 70 AD, and I think that's what he's talking about here. Let them which be in Judea flee. Well, that's where the Romans were hitting, was the temple in Jerusalem. Okay, so they went out to the mountains. They got out of town. And they had to go quick, because once the Romans started moving in, they had to go. Says, but pray you that your flight, well, that could be, like I'm saying, it's either 70 AD or the Gog and Magog. It's not for today. Be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Well, that could very likely have been 70 AD, because that was great tribulation. Pressure is what tribulation means. And if you read the book of Joel, you don't get that concept for the Gog and Magog, okay? And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So maybe that is Ezekiel 38, 39, but it's not Zechariah 10. Then if any, Zechariah 12 rather, then if any man shall say unto you, lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs. Yep, that's real. False Christ shall show great signs and wonders. That's not happening today. Insomuch that they have lying and fake signs and wonders. They don't have any real signs and wonders. They just lie to you and say, oh, we saw a sign and wonder. They never did. That if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. So the real elect don't get brought into this. So when you see people that get sucked into the churches, they're not the elect. You were in it and you left. If they're in it and then they leave, or they go in it and they bounce back out of it, that's the elect, usually. But they shouldn't really be there, Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, so if they come to you and they say, he's in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in so it says, wherefore, wherefore, well, he said, well, if any come to you and they say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chamber, believe it or not. This could be because they have fakers. They put him out in the desert and they say, look, here he is. There's Yeshua, They're fakers. They're Satan bots. For as they'll never, I mean, if you stay there, you'd realize they never were. But he's telling you, don't even go. For as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west. So it's saying the lightning can shine all across what you see, the land you see, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Now they would automatically tell you that, oh, this is, when he comes with New Jerusalem. Well, not necessarily so. Let's read. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagle be gathered together. The eagle would be the vulture, really, the bird that eats the dead carrion. And that is what happens in Matthew 13 to the tares. They get killed. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. Now, this explains to us that this is Ezekiel 38 and 39, which is Zechariah 14, which is Ezekiel chapters 8 to 11. That's what this is talking about. It spells it out. Okay, because it says after the tribulation, the sun shall be dark and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. Now, this is the end of the second 70 of Daniel 9:24. Okay, the first 70 begins with the appearing of Yeshua in the clouds, seated on the right hand of God the Father. Psalm 110:1, he says, the Lord says to my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. Well, when they appear in the clouds, Yeshua's enemies are not yet his footstool. So he's still at the right hand of God the Father. Okay, that's the beginning of the second 70, and it shows the moon turns to blood and the sun goes dark. Read Joel chapter 2. But here you're seeing the end of it, where the sun goes dark and the moon goes dark and the stars don't give their light and they fall from the sky. Okay, so this is the end of it. So that's when this tribulation is what it's talking about. That definitively wraps it up. Okay, and then shall appear the sign. Now, when it says and then, he's changing the subject. Okay, and let's look up this word with Strong's. What do they call it? Appear or something like that. And what does Strong say? The base of this word is light, to lighten, to shine. Arise, shine, your light has come. That heaven is, or show, appear, to be seen, to shine. Okay, this is him appearing in the clouds. But the church doesn't understand this, and the unelect, the non-elect don't get this. And then shall appear the sign, the appearing of the Son of Man in heaven. He's going to appear up in the clouds where the birds and the airplanes fly around. Okay. And then shall all the tribes of I believe it would say the land, not the earth, the tribes of the land of Israel mourn. And that is exactly Zechariah 12. Okay, verse 11, I believe. 11, 12, 13. And they shall see. Now that word see means to see, as in vision. Okay. and to see appear. Okay, this is never taught by the churches. They don't want you to know the truth of this. This is what the people that studied under the apostles were waiting for. This was the blessed hope, but the churches blotted that out for the people. They haven't blotted it out really. They've just blotted out the teaching of it in their churches. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the land mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Well, that could mean who he's sitting next to, which is his Father. It could also mean him. With a great, let me get it right, with a great sound of a trumpet. Now, this is not going to be Louis Armstrong blowing a trumpet in Madison Square Garden. This is going to be a trumpet from heaven, okay? So you'll get it, okay? And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. This is getting the believers. These are the elect. Now, and the believers will be coming to Israel, stopping in the wilderness. Now, learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, you know that summer is near. Summer would be your harvest, and this is a harvest. So, likewise, you, when you shall see all, A-L-L, all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. What of these signs have we not seen yet? Not anything I can think of, really. We could always argue that the extent of the sign, but we haven't really, not missing anything, I don't think. Verily I say unto you, this generation, that would be us, shall not pass away. In other words, time won't roll on so long that we just die in natural causes, that type of thing. This generation shall not pass away till all these things be fulfilled. So you'll see it. You'll see him appearing in the cloud. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. He's the Word made flesh, so of course it won't pass away. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but thy Father only. But now, does it say that we'll never know the day that Elam gets destroyed, Iran and Iraq and all? No, we may know that day. Okay, I'm working on that one. That's not secreted. Neither is Yemen, neither, so anyway, but as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark. And that was the day it had already started raining. So when you're in Matthew 24, verse 37, and you're looking at that word there, it's the parousa word again, which is Advent, return, Um, the coming, the presence, so it could be in the air too. Okay. So they will not believe you or repent or do anything until it happens. They're not going to repent anything. It's too late. So if God was going around doing earthquakes that killed 1,000,000 people here, 1,000,000 people there, a few times a month, and fires that killed hundreds of thousands, you would be in the destruction mode, not the signs, and people would get real scared, and for the wrong reasons, they would try to turn to Yeshua and then rebel again. It wouldn't be the right thing. And knew not until the flood came and took them away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall two be in the field. The one shall be taken and the other left. Now that's not in the millennium, because you're not going to be working in the field when you're in the millennium. You're going to be in New Jerusalem, and you're not going to be with somebody that's an unbeliever, because you're going to be in New Jerusalem, and only believers are in New Jerusalem. They don't teach that, but that's the obvious. And the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill. The one shall be taken and the other left. This is your Matthew 13, the tares being taken out. This is not us after everlasting life, because we're not going to be grinding with an unbeliever. That's not happening again. Okay, so that's not it. This is today, before we got the everlasting life. You're grinding with the unbeliever. Okay. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour your Lord doth come. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what hour and what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken. So that's why the unclean spirits of Satan are not going to know when it comes. They know for 2,000 years it's coming. Therefore, be you also ready, for in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man cometh. Who then is... Now that word for cometh is 2064. It's not Perusa, it's a different word. It's error shome or something. This means to appear. Okay. So he's going to appear. So it's talking about that. That was the great hope that they were working for. Now we're in Matthew 24:45. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. And if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken. The Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware. You won't know the day or the hour, not aware of. And he shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites, where there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. All right, so now you got Matthew 24. I put it together for you as the true gospel, and you can deal with that. And I'll be right back in a minute. We'll do a little spiritual warfare. Still on there for a little longer. Ooh, 10. China got rid of some high-ranking generals, the highest-ranking general, in the last few days. China destroyers are with Iran now, 4 of them, I believe. If this general was not, this general wasn't going to send the warships to Iran. He was going to leave Iran to hang out to dry like Trump did to the protesters, okay? And don't for 1 minute think Trump didn't leave the protesters out, hanging them out to dry and 86,000 got killed in the last few weeks, because it's the truth. And that's exactly what Trump did. And if you're dumb enough to keep thinking Trump's a great leader, you're nuts. He's going to drive America off a cliff. And the believers are not going to go off the cliff with him, but the unbelievers will. Trump is an enemy of God. And if you don't believe that, I'm sorry. Okay, so China wanted to help Iran. That's why the ships are there, and likely more are coming. This general, I believe, wanted to leave Iran out to dry. That's why they got rid of him. You got to put the pieces together sometimes. It's not easy. If I was wrong, then what would have happened is the Chinese warships never, they never would have came, or they came and they would have been recalled or something like that. But that's not what happened. Okay. So this is a new era we're in, and China may just figure Trump is so cowardly that it's time to push him around. And they want to get rid of the sanctions. They probably want to get rid of Trump too, in its entirety. Okay. You know what that ego lunatic is doing, by the way? He's still working on the jet plane Qatar gave him that cost $400 million. They have to take apart every piece of that plane and look for surveillance equipment, eavesdropping equipment, everything else. So when this was given to him, people were saying what they're going to have to do by disassembling it and reassembling it is going to cost more than just going out and buying the plane itself. Yet Trump's doing it. He's doing it. Did he give anybody a stipend of $2,000 last year? No. Let the poor suffer. He doesn't care. You don't understand what a dog he is. He's a dog. Look what he did to the Iranian people. He's going to do it to you. He'll do it to anybody. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. You don't know it yet. You will. So he's spending all this money on this plane because he doesn't like Air Force One. So they strip it apart, they inspect everything, then they assemble it back together again. He's almost done with it. It's taken almost a year. And then when they were reassembling it, they put the weapons systems in, the electronic warfare, whatever, sending chaff out, whatever kind of junk they got there. They're putting all that out. They're putting all that in and rebuilding it. And then Trump's going to put the luxury inside. So he's going to build. The Air Force One is not really set for ultra luxury. Okay? By regular people's standards, it's luxurious. But by Trump's standards, I don't think it is. So he's going to make, gold fixtures probably in the sinks, and maybe not, I don't know. But he's going to have his creature benefits in there. He's an old guy, and he's going to want a good easy chair, maybe with a massager, and he's going to want a nice bed to rest in. He's going to want a shower. He might want a jacuzzi. He's going to want a nice bathroom, being transactional. He'll want a bidet and a kitchen. Although, is it true that that idiot really eats McDonald's? I don't know. Maybe it's, it could be that it's a quirk and he does it. Or it could be that it's just a scam and he doesn't eat anything less than, hand massage, beef that costs, $180 a kilo, something like that, I don't know. I really don't know. He says he doesn't drink alcohol. How do we know it's the truth? Maybe he doesn't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't drink alcohol. A lot of people don't drink alcohol. Maybe, Or maybe he does and he hides it well. Who knows? I have a feeling he probably really doesn't. All right. So let's start messing with these countries that are messing with us, okay? Not start, we'll continue doing it. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I command all the unclean spirits to depart from every person that works for any of the following national governments of these countries. That would include North Korea, China, Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, Iran, Yemen, Lebanon, Gaza, Iraq, Syria, Russia. So you unclean spirits have to depart immediately from all the people that work for the national governments of these countries, never to return unto them again. In addition, for the next year continuously, you shall not appear to these people, nor guide them, lead them, direct them, or help them in any way, shape, or form, nor lie to them, nor be in any of their government facilities, buildings, boats, planes, trains, land, housing, anything owned, possessed, controlled by them, you shall not be in for a year continuously as well. And this is done effective now for 1 year continuously, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And for Israel, my Heavenly Father, I bind all you unclean spirits from trying to control the government of Israel forever. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. I further command you unclean spirits to be inside anybody working for the national government of Israel, including appointed and elected officials. You shall come out from these people immediately, never return unto them again. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And for the next year continuously, you shall not go into any person that owns, operates, controls, or works for the national government of Israel, nor shall you guide them, lead them, direct them, help them, assist them in any matter, nor shall you go inside any government building, structure, boat, plane, train, aircraft, hotel, building, anything for the next year continuously. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And when I command you unclean spirits this way, it means if you're inside a person or some living thing who goes inside some of these things, you have to immediately depart from that person. You cannot go in, even inside some living thing. Doesn't count. You can't go in. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And my Heavenly Father, I pray that you make these bindings and loosings so. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with all this. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, even if it's a video, just agree with it in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. And that's what I got now, and I'll keep you posted. But at this point, I'd be a little surprised if Trump didn't attack, because he's so scared. And I think he's probably bringing military equipment into the region to scare the Chinese, the Russians, and the Iranians. And they're not going to get very scared at all, but he's going to keep trying that nonsense and then try to make some sort of settlement deal of some sort with Iran. But I don't think Iran is going to really get involved. I mean, they'll negotiate and it'll go nowhere. And Trump doesn't understand that if you don't sit down face to face with Iran and negotiate, you lost. He's too dumb to figure that out. Netanyahu is another moron who gives in to that. You sit there, if you're going to negotiate with him, you say, look, Jack, we sit down and talk. If you want to play the game with that I'm a dog and an infidel and you don't want to be insulted by talking with you, well, then it's war. Then we'll just have a war. How's that? See, Iran doesn't want a war, but Iran is convinced Netanyahu is afraid of a war, and Iran's right. Is it possible that Trump gets scared enough to actually do a war? I'm not thinking it. What if Iran attacks first? Well, that's why Trump's bringing in all these aircraft and stuff like that. He wants to scare them from doing that. Do I think that it's possible Iran will attack first? Well, with China warships and Russian warships here, if they green light it, yeah. Yeah. What would happen if they did? I don't know. Probably Trump would do nothing. They might impeach Trump. They might do Article 25. But we got to wait and see. Okay. So I'll say a prayer for us, and you can agree with it. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for all the true believers in their households and my wife and me, and I pray that we would have your strength and stamina and your healing and recuperative power that would flow through us, and we would keep getting healed where and when we need to get healed. And I pray for us and our animals and pets that we would be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. And I pray that we have no accidents, no tickets, no breakdowns, no getting stopped, stuck, or stranded with any cars or vehicles. And I pray that we're not the subject of any discrimination actions or get picked on by lawyers, courts, judges, governments, employers, landlords, neighbors, police departments, friends, or anything like that. I pray we don't get robbed or ripped off or scammed or attacked or frauded or embezzled or anything like that. And I pray that we understand the Bible better. I pray that I can make better videos. I pray that I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray that if we need jobs, we find jobs. If we need clients and customers, we get them. I pray the offerings increase so I don't have to live here in poverty line life, live like poverty. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and I pray for all of us to do well and thrive and prosper. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I'm out, and I hope you got something out of this. And I'm out. Didn't work. That worked.